So basically, me and my mom were already on edge, like when we left home. And then we went through the drive-thru at McDonald's, and she wouldn't let me have anything, and my brother got like 7 things, and I was just really, really mad. Because my brother gets everything he wants, and I never get anything. And then we started arguing on our way to school, and she got all mad and pulled over and started screaming and yelling at me and telling me to get the F out of her car and that I could walk my ass to school, and she was just really, really mad. And I told her that I wasn't getting out of the car and that I wasn't going to walk to school because it was raining outside, and what kind of parent was she to make her kid walk to school in the rain when I didn't even have a coat or anything. And she got even madder, and then she punched me, and so of course I like pushed her off of her, and my brother and Colton and I can't remember if my sister was there or not in the back seat, but Colton like jumped up in the front and had to like push us off of each other and like stop everything. And then my mom like did a U-E in the middle of the road really fast and like peeled out, and she went to the Dairy Queen and like stood outside and talked on the phone for like an hour, and I'm pretty sure she was talking to the cops and like reported that I was physically abusing her and that I was out of control. And then she called my grandparents and told them that they needed to come pick me up. So it was my grandpa came and picked me up, and I went back to my grandma's house, and then my mom was like, "You need to come home," after she got off work, and my grandma tried to convince her to just let me stay there so that we could like cool off and not be with each other and let kind of things roll off, because she knew that if we went back we were just going to get in another fight, which we did. So when we got home, my mom like, "Here's the toothbrush, scrub the floor, every tile needs to be scrubbed, you're going to wash every dish, you're going to clean every square inch of this house until you can't feel your arms and legs anymore," pretty much. And then I was just like, it's not going to happen. I was pissed. I went to my room, and she came in and started yelling at me and freaking out, and so I slapped her in the face, and I ran out, and I went over to my neighbor's house, and I used their phone because she had already taken my phone away. And then my grandma came and picked me up, and I stayed over at my grandma's house for a little bit, and then my dad showed up because we thought that if he was there, that if the cops showed up, they wouldn't be able to like take me, because he has partial custody of me too, because I don't know, my mom and dad are split. But then the copper guy showed up, and he was kind of a really big asshole, and he was pretty much like, "I'm totally taking your mom's side with this because I believe in disciplining children, and I spanked my kids when they were younger," and I pretty much saying that he beat his kids up. And I was like, wow, okay, well, I'm pretty much just screwed here either way. So then he like walked me outside and opened the door, and I had to get in to the cop car or whatever with him, and like I was like, okay. I was obviously upset, and then he drove away, and he was pretty much like he was just so rude. Like I was like, oh, okay, so and he's like pretty much was just like, you can shut up now. Like he didn't want me to talk. Like he's like, anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to, and whatever he says. And then I was like, so how long have you been a cop? Like just trying to like, I had to drive all the way to Newport, like all like sitting in the back seat of this cop car. Like I'd never done anything like that before. It was weird. So I was just trying to like, make a conversation. And he was just like, he was just mad, and he didn't want me to talk. And I was like, okay. So I took a nap all the way there, because I like napping. Then when I got there, they like made me fill out all this like information at the front desk, and then I went into this like little room. It was pretty small, like probably like small as this little area right here. There's nothing in there. It was just concrete walls. And this lady came in, and she was asking me like tons and tons and tons of paperwork, like of questions. And the only part, like, this was a while ago, so the only part I really remember about the paperwork was she goes, okay, so here's the hard part now. This one usually takes a really long time. And she was like, what drugs have you used, or when was the last time you used, and when was the last time you've drinking alcohol, and how many cigarettes did you smoke today, if you've blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't do any of that stuff. And she was like, okay, you can't lie to me or else it's going to make things worse. And I was like, I'm not lying. I don't do drugs. I don't drink. I don't smoke cigarettes or smoke anything or inject things into my body. I'm not a criminal. I shouldn't be here. I didn't really even do anything. And so then she was like, wow, okay. I've never had that happen before. Usually I sit here for a good 15 minutes listening to kids tell me what kind of drugs they've been using the last couple of days. And I was like, yeah, not me. I already said that. So then she, like, handed me this basket full of clothes. And we went out and went into the bathroom. And I got in the bathtub. And she closed the curtain. And she goes, okay, I want you to start taking off your clothes, and then as you take them off, I want you to go like shake them and then throw them in the basket so that I can make sure that you're not like hiding anything in them. So I took off all my clothes, and then she was like, usually I have to do like a thorough search, like look in your freaking bunghole and like under all your crevices of your body to make sure you're not hiding stuff. But she was like, since you said that you didn't do anything, that I don't have to do that. And so after that, she left. Or no, actually, she didn't leave. She handed me the basket, and I had to get dressed in front of her behind the curtain in the bathtub. And then she gave me, like, it was like nurse's scrubs. They were, like, really super hard and, like, super thick. So, in this god-awful bra that didn't even fit me. And she gave me, like, these slippers that were, like, a size 12 in men's shoes. They were, like, this much too big. So then after that, she like showed me my room. She goes, well, here's your room. The only time you can come out is if you're buzzed out and you hear the clicker on the door or whatever. And so I had one blanket. The pillow was almost like a tarp. It was like, had that material, but it was like really, really super thin. So she goes, this is the only blanket you get. I mean, don't ask for another one. If you absolutely cannot even fathom yourself, or like you think you're gonna die and you need another blanket, then you can buzz and ask for one in the middle of the night, but I don't recommend that. I was like, okay. And the blanket was super, super thin, just like the pillow. And the bed was like a brick. It was made out of concrete, like bricks built up into the wall with a pad on it that was just like everything was just super, super thin. And so it was really super, and I could like see like on the cells, well, I don't know, really, yeah, whatever, like on the wall there was like tally marks of how many days people have been in there. And I was like then that's what started getting really upset, and I was just like, I was really, really, really mad at my mom that she would do that. And then the next day they buzzed me out and they did breakfast, and there was two people in there. There was a girl and a guy, and so it was like super awkward. We were just sitting at this table together. They brought out breakfast. Like, you didn't get to pick obviously what you eat. They just slapped the tray down and were like, here, you either eat it or you starve. So I was like, okay, do you guys like have names or whatever? And they like introduced themselves. I don't really remember what their names were, but I was just like, okay. They asked me what I was in for, like I was some hard criminal, and I was like, well, slapped my mom in the face. And they were like, pretty much like, what the hell are you doing here? You don't, like, who are you? Like, why you're like some goody two-shoes that shouldn't, like, it was just really weird. And then the guy was like, yeah, the last guy that just got out, he just went to prison. He slit some guy's throat. And I was like, oh, that's great. Wow. I really feel real comfortable here. And then I'm a really, really, really picky eater. And even if I wasn't a picky eater, I probably wouldn't have eaten it anyway. And I was like, I'm not going to eat this. so you guys can have it if you want. And they were like literally like on it like that. They were like freaking wolves. They were like taking my food up, and I was like, whoa. Then I went back in for a little bit, and then they buzzed me out, and they said it's time for chores, and I had to clean the bathroom. And then after that, they let us back in, and they buzzed us back out a little bit later, and they let us take showers, like brush our teeth and stuff, but you only got 5 minutes in the bathroom. So if you, while you were taking a shower, you used up 5 minutes, the water would just shut off, no matter what. And then after that, I just went back into my little,
So,
whatever you want to call it, hell. And I stayed in there for like 3 days, and I never came out to eat or to go. There was a bathroom in there, and I didn't talk to anybody. And my mom called one day, and she said, "Are you ready to come out?" And I said, "Not if you're gonna continue to be like you were. Like I'm not gonna come home if you're just gonna try to get me in trouble again." And she said, "Fine, then you can stay there." And I said, "Fine, I'll stay here as long as I'm away from you." And she goes, then she got mad and hung up. And I went back in my room, died there pretty much. Slept. I think I had like black holes on my eyes, like hanging all the way down to my freaking mouth. That's how I was like, looked like I gained 40 years or something. And then she called again, and she was like, "I'm so sorry," and she was crying, and she's like, "I'm coming to get you," and I was like, I was still really pissed off, and I didn't want to see her. Like, I would have much rather stayed there than go home with her. And then the next day, they buzzed me out, and they gave me my clothes back and stuff, and I went out, and my grandma and Daniel, which is my dad, they were out there, and then my mom showed up, and she started freaking out and was saying, "What the hell are you guys doing here? You have no right to be here. She's my kid, not yours. Blah, 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 blah." And I was just really upset. I was like bawling my eyes out because I didn't want to go with my mom. And then we went into this guy's office, and he was my PO, my parole officer or whatever, and he was talking to us, and my mom was still freaking out because Daniel went in with, and she was still freaking out about how he had no right to be in there, and he had no business in this, and there was nothing he could do to make any of this go away or to fix any of it that already happened, and she was just having like a total freak attack. And so he was like, "Okay, you can either pretty much shut up or get out, because I'm not going to do this. This isn't about you." And then we had to sign a whole bunch of contracts about how we weren't going to physically abuse each other or verbally abuse each other, and if I did any of those, it was like a year-long contract, if I did any of those things, that they would send me to a women's jail. And it's not like, it's like rapists and murderers and that kind of stuff, women's jail. Not like some little dainty place where kids go for mild felonies. It's like the big shot prison where you get eaten up and pretty much die there. And so then he wanted to just talk to me and was asking me all this stuff and what I did in my spare time, and if I played sports, and about my mom. And I told him that my mom was bipolar, and we kind of related, because he said that his wife was bipolar, and it was the hardest thing that he ever had to do in his life, because it's just being bipolar, or being around somebody who's bipolar, really affects you, and you never know what they're going to do or say. And then I told him he was going to give me community service for 6 months, but then I told him I played softball, and he said that, and he was like a really big fan of softball, and his granddaughter played and stuff, so he told me that I didn't have to do that, but he committed me to like, well, I guess it was the whole year of anger management classes, like with a,
Therapist?
yeah, that thing. And so I did that. And then we left there, and my mom was being all nice, like nothing happened. She's like, I brought you your favorite sandwich. I brought you this, and I brought you this, and do you want to go anywhere? We can go to Newport, and we can go shopping, and I'll buy you a new outfit, and I'll do all this stuff for you. And she was just totally, like, acting like nothing happened, trying to win me back and buy me stuff, and I was just not having it, and I didn't talk. And then she totally shunned everybody from her side of the family and shunned me from everybody from her side of the family. Like, she wouldn't let me talk to anybody. She took my phone away. She pretty much stalked me at school because she worked here, and she was, like, making sure that I wasn't talking on the phone or making sure I wasn't, like, doing anything I wasn't supposed to. And I'm really close to my grandparents. Like, they're pretty much my mom and dad. And she wouldn't let me talk to them at all because she's nuts. And I couldn't take it anymore, so I called Daniel, and I told him that I said, there's no way I can do this. I feel this is not going to happen. So he picked me up from school one day without her knowing, and we went down to the courthouse, and we got an immediate endangerment paper saying that I didn't have to be with my mom, and that I could leave without her having to call the cops or whatever. Which, of course, she threatened it, and we were just like, whatever, you can't do anything about it, we have papers. So I just went in there, and I told the guy, I said, I don't feel comfortable at my house right now. I told him what had went on, and I said, I don't feel comfortable staying here. I don't want to run into another fight, and I don't want to get myself in trouble again, and I definitely don't want to go to jail. And so he, like, did his little stamp thing and granted it. And then I came back to school, and my mom freaked out and attacked me at school in front of a whole bunch of people, and I had to tell the principal about it, which was Mr. Reed at the time. And he had to, like, tell my mom not to come back to work for, like, a whole week or something, I think. I don't really remember that, so don't, like, quote me on that. But, so then I stayed with my dad and my mom, and my grandparents. And my mom's still trying to win me over, sending me big baskets of stuff. First it was rage, and she was telling me that I'm a pathological liar and that I deserved everything that happened to me and that I'm a piece of shit, and pretty much was just totally out of control. And then it was more like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. She kept sending me, like, these big baskets full of, like, candy and shirts and all this stuff that I liked, and trying to, like, win me over and giving me money and buying me lunch every day and leaving it at the office and buying me a new phone. And still to this day, I don't accept my mom the same way anymore. I don't look at her the same. I don't love her the same. I can't. After she did that, it's just not cool. So that's pretty much the gist. Think I missed anything?
So after you got the ruling from the court that you were in immediate endangerment in your house,
Yeah.
you started living with Daniel full time, right?
Yeah.
So how was that?
Well, it was really rough because he's never really been around. Like, he just showed up at my house one day when I was 8 and was like, let's go hang out. Well, I always knew who he was, but we had never talked or anything. So he's never had a kid. He doesn't know, especially a teenager, so it was just really rough. And his house is, like, really way up in the middle of nowhere, and there's, like, mouses and rats in the house, and it was just really hard, but I'd rather be there than with my mom. So, I mean, I got used to it, and I mean, it was what it was.
Yeah. And so your brother and your sister still lived with your mom. Did they ever have any of the same troubles that you did?
No. No, but that was another thing my mom guilted me on. Your brother and sister don't understand. They think that you hate them, and you need to come home so they can see you. And it made me really sad because my sister would always call me and tell me that she missed me and all this stuff, and it was really hard, so. But my mom used anything and everything she could to guilt me into thinking that it was all my fault and that I needed to come, that, I don't know, just everything.
Okay, so from like a drawing standpoint, how, like, what else do you need to know to draw this?
Just like how old were you? Like how long ago was that?
It was freshman year, so 14, 15.
So what's changed since then? Like, since living with Daniel?
I don't really, like, butt heads with my mom as much, obviously, because I'm not with her. But the more and more I stayed with Daniel, the more and more I kept picking out flaws and, like, things that he didn't know how to do and things that I didn't like and things that I wasn't used to. So it was really hard for me to stay there. So then I started staying with my grandma, and then started to go back with my mom recently. This is just, like, this year, because his house is just not anything.
It's
But
not sanitary or
yeah,
safe.
it's not even, they should be, like, kicked out of the house. It shouldn't even, they should, what is that called when they, like, tell you your house is unlivable? I don't know. Foreclose? Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's when you can't pay for your house.
Oh, well, they only pay like $230 for rent, so that must tell you something.
Yeah.
But I just try to stay away from my mom. I try to just agree with what she has to say, and I try to avoid running into conflict because I really don't want it to happen, and I know no matter what I say or do, or just no matter what, I'm always going to be wrong and it's always going to be my fault. And my mom's bipolar, so, I mean, it makes it really, really hard. So, my grandparents are, like, the number one people that I go to all the time. And, I mean, my mom doesn't like them because my mom's jealous of them because I like them more as parents than I do of her. So she gets really mad and sometimes doesn't let me talk to them, and I don't know.
Sounds like it's really touch and go, kind of.
Yeah.
You never really know what to expect.
Yeah. It's kind of like, alright, so should I try to be nice today, or should I put on my freaking suit of armor and run out before I get punched or shot or yelled at or screamed or something?
Trying to think. Anything else? Oh, so how do you, like, going to school, do a lot of people know your story and stuff? Like, is it something you talk about with people?
I don't really, like, publicly talk about it, but, like, sometimes people who know me and are friends with me, they obviously are around my mom, so people, like, it's really hard for me because a lot of people here are like, your mom's so cool, she's so cool, I hung out with your mom. Like, my mom hangs out with kids at the school, like, regularly. Like, it's weird. She's just a weirdo. And it really bothers me that people are like, your mom's so cool, your mom's so cool, and they don't know her. And it's really hard for me because there's only a handful of people who actually know how my mom is and know that she isn't what people think she is. So it makes me, like, really upset when people talk about her like that, and it's like, that's not who she is. But I don't really tell people unless, like, it comes up, I guess. I don't know. I'm not just going to go around and be like, grr.
Yeah, you
So
don't.
sorry
You
for
don't.
me.
Yeah,
This
you don't
is
make
what-
it a sad story.
This is what happened or whatever. It just kind of, I just go with the flow.
Making sure we're still recording. Okay. So people that do know your story, do you think they're like your biggest support system? Like, where's your support come from when you need support?
Probably my grandparents the most because my grandma obviously my mom grew up in my grandparents' house. It was their kid. My grandpa doesn't really know anything about it. He never really paid attention, kind of just pushed it aside and told my grandma that she just coddled my mom too much and that's why she acted like that. But recently my mom's actually going to a psychiatrist and getting help, and they actually diagnosed her with bipolar, which me and my grandma already knew forever that she was bipolar. And so it's hard for me sometimes to talk to them because I butt heads with them, but I mean they're like my main source. And Colton, he was there when it happened, so, and he was always around my mom, so he really understood how she was and what she did and what actually happened because he was there, but I don't talk to him anymore. So I mean it's hard for me to talk to somebody when they don't physically understand exactly what it is. So
And Colton was her boyfriend at the time. Just
Wait, which Colton?
Colton Stites. He doesn't go to school here anymore.
I don't know, do you think there's anything else that's we pretty much covered it? Is there anything else you need to know from like so you could draw it out and stuff?
No. What's my recording?
Okay. I think that's it. I'm trying to just make sure we didn't forget anything. Oh, so has being at Taft, how has it, because this is like Faces of Taft, so it's like related to the school, so has it going to school here at Taft helped or like not helped, or how has that affected it or had
Well,
it at all?
I mean, it's a getaway place. Like, I can come here and, like, sometimes I have a hard time, like, focusing on schoolwork because I want to just, like, be to myself and be able to, like, be friends with people and talk to people because I don't really get to do that when I'm with my mom. So I have a hard time focusing on my schoolwork, so it is kind of, like, a good thing, like, a getaway place for me to come and, like, just relax and be, like, settled. So, I
At
mean,
peace.
kind of, yeah.
And this is kind of where all your friends are
Yeah.
together at, so.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Well, I guess that's it then. Finished.